In the far reaches of the galaxy, where distant stars shimmered with a faint, mysterious glow, something ancient stirred beneath the surface. It had been centuries since any civilization had ventured into these uncharted territories. But now, a faint signal reached the ears of those on Earth. Something old, something long forgotten. Scientists and explorers on Earth scrambled to decipher the message, which spoke of a kingdom lost to time, a once great empire that had faded into obscurity. The message carried an offer, though it was shrouded in mystery. The dying king of this empire had one last request. He sought a successor to inherit his throne and the legacy of his people. The Galactic Council, a vast alliance of alien species spanning countless star systems, immediately took notice of this unexpected transmission. But when the message was presented to them, they scoffed. Humans, they claimed, were weak, too primitive to inherit anything beyond their own fragile worlds. They dismissed the idea as a joke, an insult even, aimed at those struggling to find their place in the galaxy. However, a group of Earth's diplomats, determined to prove their worth, pushed forward. They saw this as an opportunity to show that humanity had more potential than simply being overlooked. And so, they devised a bold plan. A representative would be sent, a human envoy, to claim the throne. Their choice fell on Kira, a young diplomat from a rural colony, known for her curiosity and stubbornness. Kira had never dreamed of becoming a part of galactic politics, let alone stepping into the ruins of a long-lost empire. But her mission was clear: travel to the distant star system, meet with the king's daughter, and somehow secure the kingdom's future. Her mission wasn't just political, it was a gamble. And as soon as she arrived in that crumbling star system, she realized this wasn't going to be as simple as they had claimed. The planet was a wasteland of shadows. Vast deserts stretched for miles, interrupted by ruins covered in vines and overgrown tech. Kira's ship landed near what remained of the kingdom's capital, a fortress of once proud towers now crumbling under the weight of time. Silent sentinels of metal and stone stood as mere ghosts of what had once been a thriving civilization. The air felt heavy, as if the land itself mourned its past. As she stepped out from her ship, Leora emerged from the shadows. She was different from anyone Kira had ever seen. Graceful, yet hardened by years of isolation, Leora carried herself with an air of defiance, her piercing eyes studying Kira with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. The rumors had spoken of the king's unwanted daughter, but now, standing before her, Kira couldn't see why she had been so disregarded. "You're here because of the message," Leora said, her voice steady but tinged with bitterness. "You think you can just come here and take what's left?" Kira offered a hesitant smile. "I didn't come to take anything. The council, they sent me to understand, to listen. They said I might be able to help." Leora's brow furrowed. "Help?" They laughed at us. The council thought we were done, an empire that faded into nothing. But they didn't know. They never knew what we held. Together, they began exploring the remnants of the once glorious palace. As they moved through halls of decaying walls and corridors filled with centuries of dust, they discovered hidden truths, the records of a powerful civilization that had once ruled these stars. But something else stirred beneath the surface: ancient machines, long-forgotten technology, and mysterious symbols etched into the stones. A feeling of unease crept over them both, as if something more sinister had been left behind, waiting. "They thought we were weak," Leora whispered, her voice soft but defiant. "They thought we had nothing left. But they were wrong." Kira, with her limited knowledge of galactic politics, couldn't fully grasp the significance of what they were uncovering. All she knew was that Leora had a spark, a fire hidden beneath her calm demeanor. She wasn't merely an unwanted daughter. She was a key to something bigger, something that could change the course of history. As the days passed, the bond between Kira and Leora grew, though it wasn't an easy one. Leora, wary of outsiders, constantly tested Kira's intentions. But slowly they began to unravel the mystery of the Empire's downfall. The king had fallen to betrayal, a shadow faction within his own ranks working in the shadows to dismantle their society. And now, that very faction had returned, lurking in the shadows of the galaxy, ready to rise again. "They'll come back," Leora said one night, staring up at the stars from the palace's rooftop. "The Empire, it isn't truly gone. They'll use me, my bloodline, to bring it back." Kira, watching her, felt a mix of sympathy and resolve. This wasn't just about an ancient throne. This was about something far more dangerous, a legacy that could plunge the galaxy into chaos once more. And humans, once dismissed as insignificant, were now a part of it. The message from Earth had been sent as a joke, but the stakes were far higher than anyone had anticipated. And as Kira and Leora continued to dig deeper, they realized they were not just inheriting a throne. They were stepping into something much larger, something that would change the course of the galaxy forever. The discovery had just begun, and the galaxy, though filled with laughter at humanity's expense, was about to learn what Earth was truly capable of. Back on Earth, news of the ancient message spread quickly, causing a stir among governments and diplomats. After centuries of isolation, humanity had finally been noticed by an empire long lost, and now by a galaxy filled with doubt and suspicion. The Galactic Council had laughed when humans were suggested as potential heirs to the throne, but that mockery would soon turn into something far more serious. The Council, a powerful body of alien species, was made up of species so diverse they could barely agree on anything. From the towering crystalline Vectorians to the insectoid Drakthun, each race held its own power and influence. Humans were barely more than a blip on the radar, too young and primitive compared to the grand histories of the Council's members. But now, with the throne up for grabs, politics swirled, and rivalries reignited. On Earth, the decision wasn't made lightly. The news of the throne's inheritance was treated as a joke by some, an opportunity they shouldn't even consider. But one young diplomat dared to disagree. Caleb, an ambitious and idealistic member of the Foreign Relations Bureau, argued passionately in favor of pursuing the claim. "This isn't just about power," Caleb insisted during a closed session. "This is a chance to prove humanity isn't a pawn in the galaxy's games. We've been dismissed for too long. If we don't take this, someone else will, and they'll shape our future without us." His words resonated, but not everyone was convinced. Earth's leadership remained wary. After all, the Council's laughter wasn't without reason. Humanity had little to offer in the grand schemes of the galaxy. Their technology was primitive by comparison, their knowledge of space barely scratching the surface, and their presence on the galactic stage was barely recognized. Yet something about Caleb's words lingered in the minds of the leaders. What if humans could surprise the galaxy? And so, with careful consideration, they chose their representative, Kira, the diplomat who had already made her mark during the initial contact. She was young, inexperienced in the ways of diplomacy and galactic politics, but she had something others lacked, an unyielding resolve and a belief that humanity could make a difference. Kira's mission wasn't just to claim the throne. It was to understand the true purpose behind the king's request. They had believed that the kingdom had fallen due to mismanagement and betrayal, but the deeper truth was something far more insidious. It wasn't just about inheriting an empire. It was about uncovering the forces that had destroyed it in the first place, forces still lurking in the shadows of the galaxy. As Kira prepared to leave Earth, Caleb stood beside her, offering advice as best he could. "This isn't just about a throne, Kira. The Council may laugh now, but they won't when they see what you've uncovered. They'll try to take it back. We need to be ready." "I'll do what I can," Kira replied, a mix of uncertainty and determination in her voice. She boarded the ship, accompanied by a small team of engineers and security guards. The journey to the distant star system wasn't easy. Weeks of travel through uncharted space, surrounded by silence and the unknown. But as they approached the ruins of the once glorious empire, the true danger began to reveal itself. What they had initially dismissed as mere politics and old bones was far more dangerous. This wasn't just about reclaiming a throne. It was about stopping a galaxy-wide conspiracy from rising again. When Kira finally landed on the crumbling world where the palace stood, she was met by Leora, the so-called unwanted daughter. Leora, who had long been hidden away by her father's dying wishes, was suspicious of Kira's intentions from the start. She had heard the rumors, the whispers of humanity's weakness. But now, standing face to face with Kira, something was different. "You think you can just waltz in here and claim what's left?" Leora asked, her voice sharp and guarded. "I didn't come to take anything," Kira replied calmly. "The council, they sent me to learn, to understand what happened here. They think humanity can help, if they give us a chance." Leora's eyes narrowed. "Help? You think you can fix this, what my father couldn't?" Her voice carried a trace of bitterness. "You're wasting your time. The council doesn't care about this place. They care about power." Kira paused, sensing Leora's skepticism, but something about the other woman's presence intrigued her. There was more to Leora than the title of unwanted daughter. She was intelligent, resourceful, and deeply connected to the secrets buried beneath the Empire's ruins. "We'll figure it out together," Kira said, her voice steady. "But only if you let me." Leora's expression softened slightly. "You're bold. I'll give you that. But boldness won't save you here." As they began exploring the remnants of the palace, Leora began to reveal bits and pieces of the Empire's history, of the betrayal that led to its fall. And as they uncovered hidden archives and ancient technology, a darker truth began to emerge. Something wasn't just lost, it was stolen, and it was returning. The Galactic Council may have laughed now, but once they realized what humans had uncovered, they would stop at nothing to reclaim it. And humanity, though dismissed, was about to prove they weren't as weak as the galaxy believed. The days passed quickly in the ancient ruins of the fallen empire. Kira and Leora had begun uncovering more than just remnants of the past. They had stumbled upon something much deeper, something that spoke of secrets long buried beneath the surface. The once proud kingdom had fallen not to external forces, but to betrayal from within, a shadowy faction that had spread like rot through the Empire's veins. One evening, as the twin moons of the planet cast silver light over the cracked stones of the palace, Leora led Kira into a hidden chamber deep beneath the main hall. They passed through corridors lined with ancient carvings, walls that told stories long forgotten, of kings and queens who had once ruled these stars. But now, the place was dark, quiet except for the faint hum of machinery that still pulsed deep within the walls. "This is where it all began," Leora said softly, her voice reverberating in the chamber, "where the true power of our empire was hidden, until they took it." Kira followed cautiously, unsure of what she would find. They reached the center of the chamber, where a large circular pedestal stood, covered in dust and ancient symbols. Leora knelt beside it, brushing away the grime, revealing faint etchings. This was the heart of our power," Leora explained, her eyes scanning the markings. "They built machines, technologies that could reshape entire systems, bend entire worlds to our will. My father had kept them hidden, afraid of what might happen if they fell into the wrong hands." Kira looked around, her curiosity piqued. "So this isn't just about a throne. It's about this technology." "Yes," Leora said firmly. "It was more than technology. It was the key to our empire's strength. And it wasn't just stolen. It was taken by force, by those who want to bring the empire back from the dead. They're out there now, gathering their power, waiting for the right moment to strike." Kira's mind raced. She had expected this mission to be about politics, about diplomacy. But now it was clear this was something far more dangerous, something that could tip the balance of power in the entire galaxy. Whoever controlled this ancient technology would not stop until they controlled everything. As they studied the chamber, Leora spoke of visions, glimpses she had seen in dreams, dark figures lurking in the shadows. These weren't just old stories. They were warnings. The forces that had destroyed the Empire hadn't simply faded away. They had rebuilt themselves. And now, they were watching, waiting for their chance to rise again. Why didn't the Council stop them? Kira asked, puzzled. Lyora's gaze darkened. They don't want to stop it. They were complicit. The Council always played both sides. They profited from the chaos. They thought they could control it, like they control everything else. Kira frowned. The Galactic Council wasn't just a group of distant, indifferent rulers. They had their own schemes, schemes that had allowed the downfall of the Empire in the first place. Now, it seemed they had no interest in restoring peace, only in gaining power for themselves. As they discussed their next steps, an unexpected figure emerged from the shadows, a soldier, clad in armor that shimmered faintly under the moonlight. His features were sharp, his eyes cold, as he stepped forward, aiming his weapon at them. "Stay where you are," he commanded, his voice flat and emotionless. "This place is forbidden. No one is allowed to disturb it." Lyora's hand tightened into a fist. Another one of them, one of the loyalists from the old guard. The soldier's gaze swept across the chamber, landing squarely on Lyora. "You shouldn't be here. You are not meant to wield what lies beneath these walls. Give it up before it consumes you." Kira's pulse quickened. "Who are you?" The soldier didn't answer directly. Instead, he took a step closer, his presence imposing. "I serve the ones who seek to bring the Empire back to life. And you, human, you should leave. This doesn't concern you." Kira exchanged a tense glance with Lyora. The soldier's presence wasn't a coincidence. These were the very forces they had feared, the remnants of the old Empire's loyalists, now operating in secret, ready to reclaim what was theirs. "This concerns me," Kira said, stepping forward. "We're here to stop whatever it is you're trying to bring back. We're not just pawns. Humanity will not stand by and let this happen." The soldier narrowed his eyes, his expression hardening. "You have no idea what you're meddling with. Leave, or you'll be consumed by it." Lyora, however, wasn't backing down. She stepped between Kira and the soldier, defiant. "You think you can scare me with words? We're here to stop the cycle. We'll see your masters undone." The soldier hesitated for a moment, weighing his options. He could see they were not easily swayed, not like those before. But he didn't trust them. Not yet. "We'll see how long your determination holds," he finally said, turning and vanishing back into the shadows, leaving them alone once more. Kira and Lyora exchanged a tense look. The soldier's warning wasn't empty. This was just the beginning. The forces they had woken weren't going to back down easily. They had awakened something far greater than they had anticipated. "This isn't just about a kingdom," Kira said slowly. "It's about stopping them, whoever they are, before they bring this empire back to life." "Yes," Lyora agreed, her expression grim. "And now, they know we're here. They won't rest until they get what they came for." Their mission had just begun. The galaxy wasn't going to let them succeed without a fight. The night on the abandoned world was thick with shadows, and the silence felt heavier than it should have. The vast ruins of the once great empire stretched out before Kira and Lyora. But now, that silence wasn't the absence of life. It was the presence of something lurking just beneath the surface. The two women stood atop the highest point of the palace, gazing out into the endless starry expanse. It was peaceful on the surface, but they knew better now. Lyora's eyes narrowed as she spoke softly. "They're watching. I can feel it. Even now, they're moving, preparing." Kira frowned, her mind racing. "What do you mean? Who's watching?" "The ones who never left," Lyora replied, her voice low but filled with unease. "The ones who betrayed my father and tore the empire apart. They didn't disappear. They'd been hiding, waiting. And now, They're coming back. Kira's brow furrowed. And you think they'll come here? For you. They want me. They always did. They see me as their ticket to restoring everything, bringing the Empire back from the ashes. And if they succeed, it won't just be this world they reclaim. It'll be everything. The galaxy will fall under their control again. Kira exchanged a worried glance. She had begun to realize this wasn't some ancient war that had ended long ago. This was still happening. Those responsible hadn't faded into the background. They were plotting, gathering power in secret, biding their time. And now, they were closer than ever. They know about me. About what we've uncovered, Leora continued, pacing slowly. They've been watching from the shadows, gathering what little influence remains. They've spread their network across the galaxy. Spies, assassins, loyalists still loyal to the old regime. They're everywhere. Kira's heart pounded. But why would they care about you? What makes you so important to them? Leora stopped pacing and turned to face her, her expression hardening. Because I'm the last link to what they want. The bloodline. My father's bloodline carried the power of the Empire. If they can control me, they can control the technology we once had. The machines, the power that can reshape worlds. They think I'm weak, unworthy. But they're wrong. Kira could feel the gravity of Leora's words. They weren't just fighting for a throne or an empire. They were fighting for something far greater, something that could alter the very balance of power in the galaxy. And they'll stop at nothing to get it back. Leora added, they won't let me walk away. They'll come after me. And if they succeed, she trailed off, her fists clenching. The galaxy will fall. Suddenly, an alert flashed on Kira's communicator. Her heart skipped a beat as she pulled it out and stared at the screen. A new signal, faint but unmistakable, was broadcasting from deep within the ruins. What is it? Leora asked, noticing Kira's sudden tension. It's a transmission, Kira muttered, staring at the display. It's encrypted, old, from one of the hidden networks beneath the palace. Leora's eyes narrowed. They're communicating. They're sending messages, even now. Kira bit her lip, her mind racing. The signals had to be connected to whoever had infiltrated the remnants of the Empire. The same ones they had encountered earlier, the Loyalists. And now, they were communicating again, plotting something Kira and Leora couldn't ignore. We need to find out more, Kira said urgently. If they're talking now, it means they're planning something. Something bigger than just reclaiming this place. Leora nodded, determination flashing in her eyes. We'll follow it. We'll uncover what they're planning. And stop them before it's too late. Their mission had just shifted. This wasn't about uncovering the truth of the Empire anymore. It was about stopping a galaxy-wide conspiracy from rising again. The Empire wasn't dead. It had merely gone into hiding. And now, with humanity's name dragged into this, Earth was about to face something far greater than they could have ever expected. They're coming, Leora said quietly, staring out into the distant horizon. And they won't stop until they have what they want. But we can't let them. Not this time. Kira took a deep breath, steeling herself. We'll stop them. Together. Whatever it takes. As they set out into the ruins once more, a new fear gripped both of them. The galaxy was vast, but the enemies they now faced were far more insidious than they had ever anticipated. They were not just dealing with a fallen empire. They were confronting something darker, something that had waited for centuries to return. The hidden threat had begun to reveal itself. And they knew, whoever controlled this ancient power would shake the future of the galaxy. And humanity couldn't let that happen. The transmission led Kira and Leora deeper into the ruins. Every step they took was heavier than the last, as if the ancient stones themselves carried the weight of history. The signal grew stronger, drawing them toward a hidden section of the palace that had been sealed off for centuries. The air was cold, and the faint hum of unseen machinery echoed around them, amplifying their unease. "This place was forbidden," Leora said quietly, her voice almost lost in the vastness of the dark hall they had entered. "Even my father refused to come here. He said some secrets were too dangerous to uncover." Kira glanced at her, curiosity battling caution in her mind. But if the Loyalists are using it, then they must have found something worth risking everything for. Leora nodded, but her expression remained grim. She didn't respond, focusing instead on the path ahead. The walls were lined with strange symbols, glowing faintly, as if the ruins themselves were awakening to their presence. Finally, they reached a massive door, its surface etched with intricate designs and ancient scripts. It stood like a sentinel, guarding whatever lay beyond. Kira reached out to touch it, but Leora stopped her. "Wait," Leora warned. She examined the door closely, her eyes scanning the markings. "It's not just a door. It's a defense mechanism. If we open it carelessly, we could trigger something lethal." Kira took a step back, her heart pounding. "Do you know how to disarm it?" Leora hesitated, then pulled a small device from her belt. "I can try, but if I'm wrong..." She didn't finish the sentence. As Leora worked, Kira couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The shadows seemed to shift and twist around them, and every faint sound made her pulse quicken. She gripped her sidearm tightly, her eyes scanning the darkness. "Almost there," Leora muttered, her fingers moving quickly over the glowing symbols. Suddenly, a loud click echoed through the chamber, and the door began to slide open with a low rumble. The air that poured out from the other side was colder still, carrying with it the faint scent of metal and decay. "Stay close," Leora said, stepping through the threshold. The room beyond was unlike anything Kira had seen before. Massive pillars stretched toward a ceiling shrouded in darkness, and strange machinery lined the walls, still glowing faintly with power. At the center of the room was a pedestal, and on it rested a small spherical device. It pulsed with a faint, rhythmic light, like a heartbeat. "What is that?" Kira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "The core," Leora replied, her tone filled with both awe and fear. "It's what powered the Empire's greatest achievements. The machines, the weapons, the technology that allowed us to rule the stars. It all came from this." Kira approached the pedestal cautiously. But why would the Loyalists need it? If it's been here all this time, why didn't they take it before? "Because it's incomplete," Leora said. "The core isn't just a source of power. It's a key. Without the other components, it's useless. My father scattered them across the galaxy before the Empire fell, hoping no one would ever reunite them." Kira's mind raced. And now the Loyalists are trying to find them all. "Exactly," Leora confirmed. "And if they do, they'll have the power to rebuild the Empire and enslave the galaxy." Before Kira could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed through the chamber. Both women spun around, weapons drawn, as several figures emerged from the shadows. The Loyalists had arrived. At their head was the soldier they had encountered before, his armor gleaming in the faint light. He stepped forward, his gaze fixed on Leora. "I warned you to stay away," he said coldly, "but you didn't listen. And now you've forced our hand." "You won't get the core," Leora said, her voice defiant. The soldier smirked. "You think you can stop us? You don't understand the power you're dealing with. This isn't about you anymore, Leora. It's about restoring what was lost, what your father tried to destroy." Kira raised her weapon, her heart pounding. "We won't let you take it." The soldier's expression hardened. "You're out of your depth, human. This is bigger than you, bigger than your entire species. You should have stayed on your little planet." Without warning, the Loyalists attacked. Energy blasts lit up the chamber as Kira and Leora dove for cover. The room became a battlefield, the echoes of the fight reverberating through the ancient walls. Kira fired back, her training kicking in as she focused on disabling their enemies. Leora, meanwhile, moved toward the core, determined to protect it at all costs. "We can't let them take it," Leora shouted over the chaos. "I know," Kira replied, taking down another loyalist. But the loyalists were relentless, and the fight quickly began to turn against them. Just as it seemed they were out of options, the core began to pulse more brightly, its rhythmic light intensifying. "What's happening?" Kira called out, shielding her eyes from the blinding glow. Lyora stared at the core, realization dawning on her face. "It's reacting to us. It's waking up." The light grew stronger, and a deep, resonant hum filled the chamber. The loyalists froze, their weapons lowered, as the core's power surged. Kira and Lyora exchanged a glance, both understanding the same thing. Whatever the core was doing, it was their only chance to turn the tide. "We have to trust it," Lyora said. Kira hesitated, then nodded. "Do it." Lyora placed her hand on the core, and the light engulfed the chamber. The loyalists screamed as the power surged, and when the light finally faded, the room was silent once more. The loyalists were gone, and the core now pulsed faintly in Lyora's hands. "This isn't over," she said, her voice steady but filled with determination. "They'll come back, and we need to be ready." Kira nodded, gripping her weapon tightly. The battle had only just begun. Days had passed since the confrontation in the ancient ruins, but the weight of the battle lingered heavily on Kira and Lyora. The core now pulsed gently in Lyora's possession, a source of immense power they couldn't afford to let fall into the wrong hands. But even with its protection, the galaxy wasn't safe, not while the Loyalists still lurked in the shadows. The pair had returned to a hidden outpost on the outskirts of a nearby star system, a place that had once been used by the Empire's intelligence network. Now, it served as a temporary refuge. The small station was equipped with ancient surveillance technology, ones that could detect movement across vast distances, and both women had been using it to monitor any signs of the Loyalists' resurgence. As Kira paced the control room, her fingers tapping over the controls, Lyora sat silently, watching her with quiet focus. They had been digging through old records and encrypted transmissions, trying to piece together where the Loyalists had gone after their failure to take the core. "They're spreading out," Kira finally said, leaning over one of the monitors. "The signals, they're originating from multiple locations. It's like they're setting up bases across the galaxy." Lyora nodded slowly. "They're regrouping, building their network again. We've underestimated them before. Now, they're stronger, more organized than we thought." Kira clenched her jaw. "We need to find out what they're planning next. What do they want with the core? It has to be more than just power." Lyora's gaze hardened. "They're not after just the core. They want the full extent of the Empire's technology. The weapons, the machines. They're rebuilding their forces, and once they have it all, they'll come for the galaxy." Kira furrowed her brows. "But why now? What changed?" Lyora sighed, frustration evident in her voice. The collapse of the Empire wasn't just a fall. It was a vacuum. Every faction out there, every power, has been watching, waiting for someone to rise. The Loyalists have been gathering followers, building connections, and now they believe the moment has come. As they examined the feeds further, an alert suddenly blipped on one of the monitors. Faint energy readings from deep within a distant system. The signal was unusual, irregular, unlike anything they had encountered before. It pulsed intermittently, weak but persistent. "What is that?" Kira asked, leaning closer. Lyora's eyes narrowed as she studied the reading. "It's something new, ancient technology, but refined, manipulated in ways we haven't seen before. It matches the signatures from the ruins, but it's different." Kira frowned. "Different? How?" Lyora's lips pressed into a thin line. "It's unstable. Whatever they found, they've started using it, altering it. And if they continue, it could bring back the same kind of destruction that brought down the Empire." Kira's stomach tightened. "We have to stop them before they complete it." But as they gathered their equipment to prepare, an unexpected message came through. A transmission, encrypted and disguised, originating from the heart of one of the Loyalist networks. The voice on the other end was cold, calculated, speaking with authority. Leora. The moment the voice spoke her name, Leora's entire demeanor shifted. Her eyes darkened, and a wave of tension rolled off her. Kira immediately recognized it, fear mixed with anger. "Who is this?" Leora demanded, her voice low but sharp. The figure on the other end didn't answer immediately, instead letting the silence stretch before finally responding. "We have something that belongs to you, something that will complete your destiny." Leora's fists clenched. "Stay away from it." The figure smirked, and Kira could see it in his eyes, even through the transmission. Calculated, cold, and dangerous. "We've already begun. The pieces are falling into place, and soon the Empire will rise again. We'll take what's ours, starting with you." The message cut off, leaving Leora staring at the blank screen, her face pale and tight with fury. "They're coming for me," Leora said quietly, her voice shaking slightly with suppressed rage. "They think I'm their key. If they can control me, they can control the core." Kira frowned. "Then we stop them before they even get close. Whatever this is, we won't let them complete it." But Leora's expression darkened. "It's not that simple. They've already found something. Something that will give them an advantage. And they're moving fast. We can't keep running forever." Kira's grip tightened around her weapon. "Then we take the fight to them." Leora nodded, but her eyes were filled with worry. "We'll need more than just willpower. We have to find out exactly what they're planning, and stop them before it's too late." Together, they turned back to the monitors, scanning for any sign of where the Loyalists might be headed next. But something felt different now, darker. The Loyalists weren't just rebuilding. They were preparing something far more sinister. "They won't stop until they have everything," Leora murmured, more to herself than to Kira. "And this time, they'll go after more than just power. They'll come after the entire galaxy." Kira's pulse quickened. "Then we'll stop them, no matter what it takes." But even as they spoke, the shadows continued to deepen, and the Loyalists' reach grew ever stronger. The fight had just begun, but it was clear they were no longer just dealing with remnants of a fallen empire. Something much darker had awakened, and it wouldn't rest until it claimed everything. The outpost was tense. Kira and Leora sat together in the control room, their eyes locked on the distant star system where the Loyalists were making their move. The core was now safely hidden, but the enemy's signal had led them here, directly to an ancient facility deep in one of the galaxy's remote regions, a place that had been abandoned for centuries, but now pulsed with strange energy. "They're gathering," Leora said, her voice steady but low. "They're assembling forces, completing whatever it is they've been working on. And they're not stopping." Kira clenched her fists. "We can't let them reach whatever they're after. This ends now." Leora nodded, determination etched on her face. "I'll lead the strike force. I'll handle the core. You take the fight to their base. We'll divide and conquer." Kira's brows furrowed. "And if we fail? If they overwhelm you, or if I can't stop them?" Leora's expression softened, just for a moment. "We won't fail. We're stronger together. I've trained for this. You've fought harder than anyone. We'll face them side by side, one way or another." The time for planning was over. The Loyalists had revealed themselves fully now, and they were moving to claim what they believed was theirs, the technology that had once shaped the Empire. And with it, the galaxy itself. The galaxy's fate hung in the balance. As Kira and Leora made their way through the desolate wastelands surrounding the ancient facility, shadows seemed to creep from the ground, watching them, waiting. The once ruined facility had been repurposed into something far more dangerous, a place of dark energy and ancient machinery, blending the old Empire's technology with new twisted devices. It radiated a sinister power, designed to amplify what the Loyalists were trying to achieve. Suddenly, The ground trembled beneath their feet, and alarms blared from deep inside the facility. The Loyalists had been expecting them. They had set traps, mechanical defenses, automated sentries, and more. Kira glanced over her shoulder at Lyora. "This is more than we thought." Lyora's eyes narrowed. "They've enhanced their base, built it to be something more than just a stronghold. They're using the core's technology to power something they shouldn't control." The two women pressed forward, moving cautiously through the facility's halls. The air grew colder as they descended deeper into the heart of the structure. Ancient machinery hummed softly in the background, and the flickering lights cast long, dark shadows on the walls. The echoes of their footsteps seemed to grow louder, as though the facility itself was alive. Then suddenly, they were surrounded. A wave of Loyalist soldiers emerged from hidden passageways, armored, fierce, ready to stop them. Weapons aimed at Kira and Lyora, blocking their way forward. The enemies had been waiting in the shadows, prepared for every move. "We won't let you reach the core," one of the soldiers barked, their voice filled with zeal. Lyora stepped forward, her expression hardened. "You think you can control what you've awakened? It'll destroy you before it ever restores anything." The Loyalist leader, a man wearing dark, modified armor, stepped forward from the crowd. His eyes locked on Lyora. "Your bloodline's legacy means nothing. We're beyond that now. The Empire will rise again, with or without you. You'll join us, or you'll be crushed." Kira readied her weapon. "Not happening. We'll stop you." The battle broke out in earnest, blasts of energy, clangs of weapons, and the echoing shouts of combat filling the air. Kira moved swiftly, taking down enemy soldiers while staying close to Lyora, guarding her from attack. Lyora, meanwhile, focused on disabling the core's defenses, cutting through wires, dismantling ancient mechanisms, trying to seize control of what the Loyalists had been trying to use to fuel their empire. But the core itself was unstable, a swirling mass of energy, pulsing erratically. It seemed to react to Lyora's touch, responding with bursts of light and energy that forced her to retreat for a moment. "They've manipulated it," Lyora muttered, pushing forward once more. "It's too much for them to control, but they're determined." Kira's eyes flashed with determination. "We have to shut it down before it goes critical." As they fought their way deeper into the heart of the facility, the Loyalists unleashed their final weapon. An ancient war machine, built from the remnants of Empire technology. It was massive, powered by twisted energy harvested from the core, and it began advancing toward them, its mechanical legs grinding across the floor. Its purpose was clear: to stop them at any cost. "We need to destroy it," Kira shouted, realizing they couldn't let it reach full activation. Lyora's jaw tightened. "I'll handle the core. You take care of that thing." Kira nodded and charged forward, weaving through enemy soldiers while focusing on the war machine. She fired energy blasts at its joints, trying to disable its movement. But the machine was heavily armored and seemed almost alive, reacting to every attack with defensive measures. It swung its massive arms in retaliation, forcing Kira to dodge and fight for every inch of ground. Meanwhile, Lyora frantically worked to interface with the core, cutting through the Loyalist control and trying to reclaim it for themselves. But the core's instability was growing worse, reacting erratically to her presence. Sparks flew, and the energy surges became more violent. "The core is..." Lyora started to shout, but she was cut off by a sudden burst of energy that flared outward from the device, forcing her to shield her eyes. The war machine intensified its assault, advancing faster toward Kira, its mechanical legs now moving with surprising speed. Kira ducked, rolled, and fired at its weak points, but it seemed unstoppable, almost as if it was feeding off the core's power. "Lyora!" Kira yelled, desperate to get her friend's attention, but the intensity of the battle made it hard to keep focused on anything other than surviving. Lyora gritted her teeth, eyes glowing faintly as she fought to hold back the surge of energy from the core. Her fingers danced across ancient controls, desperate to stabilize it before everything was consumed by the energy. "I'm almost there." Lyora's voice was strained, but her determination gave her focus. "Help is on the way. Just hold on." Kira's pulse raced as the war machine bore down on her once more. The ground beneath her feet trembled, and the facility's systems began to malfunction as the energy grew stronger. She dodged another strike, pushed herself to her limits, and finally found an opening, a weak point in the machine's armor. "Now," Kira shouted, taking a final shot at the war machine's energy core. The machine let out a deafening roar as the blast struck home, and it stumbled, sparks flying. The core beneath it, a source of immense power, rumbled and began to crack under the strain. Lyora, sensing the change, gritted her teeth and pushed harder. The energy surged once again, but this time she willed it, channeling it into something more controlled. The core responded, stabilizing as her will guided it. "I've done it," Lyora declared triumphantly, holding the core steady. Kira, seeing that the war machine was faltering, raced to join her. Together, they activated the facility's ancient defenses, locking the core down before it could be fully consumed. The facility shook one final time before going silent. The Loyalists were defeated, at least for now. But they both knew this wasn't the end. The galaxy's fate had been altered, but the Loyalists would regroup. They would rebuild, and they would return, stronger and more determined than ever. As they left the ruined facility behind, Kira glanced at Lyora, a renewed sense of purpose in both their eyes. "Whatever they're planning next," Kira said firmly, "we'll be ready." Lyora nodded, her voice steady. "We'll end this, once and for all." And with that, the fight for the galaxy continued. The shadows had retreated, for now, but they would rise again. And next time, they would come for everything.